My bad, guys. My phone died about not 8, probably like 3 blocks away from my home. My little walk in the middle of my little dialogue, and now I got a charger on it, and I'm gonna go out and walk a little more. Of course, it smells like undergrown weed. It smells like skunk weed around here, which I always find funny because cannabis is so inexpensive. Well, I guess it is and it isn't. Probably depends on how much you use and how much you want to consume. But I often smell undergrown or overgrown or whatever. It doesn't smell right. It smells skunky and not high quality. What they call I don't even remember what they call it. Bammer weed, bush league weed, or I forget all the names. But yeah, man. So where was I? Let's talk about how to enjoy life as a man, how to enjoy life as a red pill man, what type of hobbies. I just want to see how y'all are doing. I just wanted to see, it's been a while since I interacted and reached out to this channel, and just kind of feel bad for having this long break. And I don't know, just wanted to say what's up. I know a lot of you guys used to follow my content a few years ago, and I tell you, I made a lot of videos just because I was going through a lot of bad breakups, learning about the red pill the hard way. And I feel more comfortable now. I feel like I'm in a better place. I had a pretty good relationship with a nice woman. About a year and a half ago it ended because she started to be kind of argumentative with me. And I probably kind of stupidly, well, I don't know about stupidly, but I think it was sovereign, of God. Because sometimes God looks out for you by not giving you what you want, Sometimes God looks out for you by taking away things that you like and taking away access to certain things that are probably not that good for you. And that's love. That's a kind of parenting love. But it was still a good relationship, and she's a good woman for the most part, Of course, as a red pill guy, when you become educated in the red pill and you learn female nature and you learn how women roll and how women behave, you learn a lot, mostly a lot of what to avoid, and you learn to spot red flags. And this is one of my goals, and one of the things that I had hoped young men would do is learn these things, learn the red flags, learn from the older men who've been through it. Learn how to navigate dating, how to navigate young women. And one of the things that I talked about a lot in my older videos was for men to have standards, and then also for men to have patience. I would say now to have patience, and I would say to understand and recognize that even though it seems like, you're mostly lonely and it's not happening, and maybe it's not gonna happen, right? Even if you feel like that, still don't sell yourself short, I'm not saying to have totally unrealistic expectations, because, it's not to say that you won't get a supermodel. It's not to say that she won't be a virgin and gorgeous, etc. But I see a lot of toxicity in the red pill. I see a lot of unrealistic expectations. Now, I would say you want a woman who's in that 1 to 5 category of lay count. That's what you want. You want a woman who's not promiscuous, not slutty, doesn't sleep around. That's a cool house. You can't see it, but it's got cool lights on the porch. As I was saying earlier, I just love looking at houses. It's one of my hobbies, walking around looking at houses. I'd love to put out a photography book someday of just cool little houses. And I love cool little like niche things, little cul-de-sac is the right word. Cul-de-sac is like a, people know what cul-de-sac is. It's a little inlet that doesn't have a buy through when you drive or whatever, but like I think divot is the right word. Like little things that are carved out in houses, like have this little light here that's like super unique, and like just the craftsmanship, and then as I was saying earlier, like the design of how people, there's a word for it, landscape architecture. That's what it is. Landscape architecture. The architecture of like, where you put the flowers and where you put the, this bush and that bush, and it's a whole thing. I'd love to get into it. I'd love to have a profession in it, but it's probably a lot of work too, digging up stuff. I tried to dig weeds one time. I went to this, they used to call it I forget what they used to call it, Work Source or Work for Labor Ready is what they used to call it. Labor Ready. They called it Labor Ready. I think it's something different now, but it used to call it Labor Ready. And you go to this place, and if you wanted like $50 or $100 or whatever, you just go there, and they just give you some random ass job, and you'd work it all day long, and then at the end of the day you go back and they give you a paycheck. If you wanted to make like $50, and I only did it a couple times in my life, but it's an interesting thing, So I say is just live life, man. Do stuff, have an experience, even if it's maybe somewhat of a shitty experience. I went to Labor Ready once, and they're like, hey, you want to dig weeds? And I was like, okay. I didn't really know. I was like 21, 22. And I went to dig weeds in this lady's backyard, and it was this old lady, and like, she's like, here, and she gave me this spade, this like 1970s spade, and I'm sitting there in this hard ass dirt trying to dig these weeds out, and like after about 20 minutes I was like not even 10% of the way done, and I was exhausted. Well, I wasn't exhausted, but it was just like, this is just shitty work, man. And I just left. I just walked off, and I never did Labor Ready ever again. But it was an experience, it's a reference experience, it's a learning experience, and it's like you realize you don't want to do that kind of shit for the rest of your life. You go do some shitty job, and you realize you don't want to do it for the rest of your life. And it's kind of the same thing with like women. You date a certain type of girl, you learn, and you're like, oh, this is the hottest type of girl, I want this kind of girl, blah, blah, blah. You date that kind of girl, and then all of a sudden you're like, no way, I can't do it because she's like this, or she's like that, or this is wrong with her. Like, you learn, it's a reference experience. But it's a great quote that I always loved. I'm pretty sure it's Voltaire, but is anyone so wise as to learn by the mistakes of others? Is anyone so wise as to learn by the mistakes of others? Which is why I like putting out content, because I hope I can help somebody. I hope I can inspire somebody. I hope I can, strike a light bulb in someone's head and say, hey, you know what? I need to watch out for that. Or hey, you know what? I need to do this like this a little more, but this a little better, this a little like this. Or that's why we need men who are speaking. That's why we need men who are experienced. That's why we need men who are mature, who are wise. I'm not saying I'm all those things, but we can try, right? And we should try. And I think we have a generation, I think they call it the me generation or whatever, the selfish generation. This Generation X and generation, the millennials and Gen Z is even worse. And people who are just really selfish, and particularly in American culture, we need more people who are like wise old sages. And we need, there used to be this person. This is why somebody like Joe Rogan is so important. That's why it's not, so popular and important to whatever degree, right? And Jordan Peterson, right? Why these people are so popular, so important to whatever degree. Because we don't have these guys anymore. We used to have this kind of culture where wise men would speak. Socrates and, who had these philosophers. They would say things, and if you ever go read their stuff, it's brilliant, I'd advise anybody to do that. Go read as much philosophy as you can. And, I'm not saying it's all 100% ironclad truth and absolute maxims and things like that. No, take it with a grain of salt, right? There's some truth in it. Guys a lot of guys today like to get into stoicism and things like that. There's truth in that. But it's not always absolute. It's not always 100% this is the way you should do it. And there's a lot of gray area in life. There's a lot of paradoxes in life. Ultimately, my best advice is to do you, play your game, be who you are, live your life, enjoy your life, and take it a moment at a time, enjoy your life every day as you can. Try to think the right type of thoughts, the type of thoughts that you allow, the type of ways that you think are going to dictate your happiness, are going to dictate, your peace of mind, peace of life, how much peace you have in your life. Your mind can be your greatest tool, or it can be your greatest enemy. I took a psychology class in college, and one of the best quotes, it might be the only quote, but I would recommend everybody take a psychology class if you can get a good teacher. I'm sure there's some really crappy psych teachers out there. Psych 101, man. Also, sociology is great. Even I enjoy geography, actually. Even loved my anthropology class, which is one thing I was going to say is, as much as you can, get as many books as you can. Have a big bookshelf. As much as you can, get quality good books. I know we got the internet age, and you can find books online. That's true. You can get Kindle and things like that, and you can find free PDFs and whatever you can afford. But I like physical copies of books, if you can. I'm not saying I got the greatest collection of library, because I don't, but I'm thankful that in my lifetime, I'm thankful for two things. One thing, I had a lot of great educators, a lot of great teachers in my life, had a really good city that I grew up in, Spokane, and I'm also thankful that I read a lot of great books over the course of my life. Read classic literature as much as you can. Read 101 books are great. Just general knowledge books. This is the problem with social media today, is that there's too many videos. Oh, we got a video of this guy shooting a water balloon over the Grand Canyon. We got a video of this guy freezing Jello and throwing it at his cat or something crazy, just the stupidest videos about it. And some of them are fascinating. I mean, many of them are fascinating. Many of them are amazing. And I watch that shit, right? But ultimately, learning and reading, nothing will beat that. Learning and reading is one of the best things you can do for your life, for your mind, to train your mind, to gain intelligence, to learn how to talk, have a big vocabulary, learn how to think, learn how to piece words together. Reading will do that. Reading is wonderful. It just makes you smarter, makes you better, makes you sharper. And I think every man should try to sharpen their mind. Every man should educate themselves and do their best to expand their thinking, expand their learning, expand their knowledge. But you can get caught up in that too. You always want to have balance. You always want to have balance, right? But one thing that I did in my psych class, one thing that my psych teacher told me was, he said, you are not your mind. You are not your mind. Which basically means that a lot of times we can have thoughts, we can have intrusive thoughts, we can have, what my mom used to call stinking thinking, right? We get into these mental slumps, right? If you read the Bible, the best way to get out of that is to get into your spirit. Best way to do that is to call on the Lord. Oh Lord Jesus, is to get out of your mind, and it's to get into God, right? Which is a lot of what the Bible's about as a whole, is to get out of the flesh, get out of the body, but you can get into the spirit realm, the spirit world, because God is spirit. John 4:24 says, God is spirit. Those who worship him must worship in spirit and truthfulness. What does that mean? It means we've got this secret weapon, which is the human spirit, that we can tap into at any time. And it gets us out of our emotions, it gets us out of our mind, gets us out of our soul, because the soul is tripartite. The soul has 3 parts to it. It has the mind, the emotion, and the will, right? That's our soul. But our spirit has 3 parts to it as well. It has fellowship, intuition, and the conscience, right? Fellowship, intuition, and the conscience. And if we exercise our conscience by exercising righteousness, then we can exhibit and express godliness, which is righteousness, right? And there's a difference between spiritual righteousness and goodness and human goodness, the goodness in the soul, because there is something to be said about goodness in the soul, right? There are good people, but they're just soulical. So they're only in the soul realm. When you get into the spirit realm, which is God, touching Christ, touching Jesus, which is the spirit. Again, John 4:24 says God is spirit. What does that mean? It means that God is spirit. That's his substance, that's his essence, that's who he is, right? You can get out of that soul realm. I'm out here whispering because I'm in this neighborhood and people can hear you, and I don't want to be too loud, but anyway, you can get out of that soul realm. A lot of people get stuck in their soul, and they have these, earlier I was talking about seasons. And yes, it's true that we go through seasons in our soul. We go through seasons in our human life, which is what it says in Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes. And I always quote the Bible because even though, like I said, I've studied Stoicism, studied philosophy, studied these things. You even study things like chemistry, mathematics, and these are all great things. Actually, what I like about those things, biology, anthropology, right? Anatomy, physiology, these things. Sociology, etc. Sociology is a little bit different, but things like chemistry, biology, mathematics, they actually are a science, and they explain how things work. They explain the world, explain how things are synergistic, explain how things function, right? And these things, the way these things are explained is really just explaining God. It's explaining how God created, how he did it, how he pieced the world together with just speaking. He just spoke things into existence. This is not the same thing as manifesting, and I don't believe in manifestation all that much. I think there is something to be said about intentions, and our mind can be powerful. There's a book out there by a guy named Watchman Nee, who's a spiritual, biblical Christian speaker, scholar, etc. And he wrote a book called The Latent Power of the Soul. And people can get into that. It's close to witchcraft. It's linked to witchcraft. It's linked to the occult. There is a power in our soul. There's a power. Humans have power that's deeper than physical or force or even collective power. You can tap into some things, but I wouldn't. Because anyway, there's a lot of, I don't know if etymology is the right word, but there's a lot of science behind that as well. And when you really get into that type of science, the occult and things like that, you're getting into a dark science, the dark arts. You're getting into demon stuff where you don't want to get into that realm, and you can. I'm not saying you can't, but if you like being healthy spiritually and mentally, I wouldn't. And this is another thing, is you got to be careful what you touch. Be careful of things that you put in your body, in your mind, and your soul. But seasons, we go through seasons as men, we go through seasons as human beings, and which is why I always say, the Bible's so wonderful because it's God speaking to us. He has all the answers. And when you read the Bible, you get grounded in the truth. The Bible's just truth. The Bible is nothing more red-pilled than the Bible. The Bible is the most red-pilled book on earth. Like I said, I've read Stoicism, I've read philosophy, and some of that's good. There's some good stuff in there. There's some good learning, some good proverbs, some good maxims, some nice things to help you navigate life, to help you get through breakups, or help you get through slumps or bad things, right? But there's nothing better than the Bible. There's nothing better to help you, and there's nothing healthier for your soul than the Bible, which is why it's so important to I would say find a godly woman, find a godly partner, or be around godly people. One thing is true, I've read a lot in self-help books and things like that, is it's true that you're a reflection of the people that you surround yourself with. You're a reflection of the people that you surround yourself with. I believe that's true. Be careful people that you have in your circle. Be careful of people that you have in your camp, because they influence you. And I wouldn't say be antisocial. I wouldn't say you should be this ultimate loner. I'm a loner, but that's because it's just hard to find good people. It's hard to find good quality friends. I've had lots and lots of friends in my life, over the course of my life, lots and lots, but most of them didn't really love me that much. Most of them, it's just most of the friendships, most of the human worldly friendships are very more like acquaintanceships, and more like, based on some kind of commonality, or somebody thinks you're cool for a while and they get bored of you and they don't want to, So a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on friendship, and I would say it's not as important as people make it out to be, because mostly friendships today in this world are shallow, and it's not the best things. The best things in life are to secure yourself a dwelling, secure yourself a home, however you got to do it. Be about your business. Be about making the money that you need to survive. Being about making a nice little life for yourself. Don't put your energy in friendships, and don't put your energy in relationships, because they're very fickle by nature. They come and go. Even relationships with women come and go. If you can find one ride or die woman who's down with you through anything, that's wonderful, particularly if she's a godly woman. And I would even venture to say, if you're a believer, if you're a Christian, don't at all entertain a woman who's not a Christian. Don't do it. Not worth it. She'll drag you down in one way or another. She'll be a problem for you in one way or another. Keep your head out of trouble, enjoy the things that you have while you have them, because life is short, man. It's fast and it's short, and people die all the time. People are dying. Celebrities, people that we grew up with, they're dying. People die. You realize this as you get older. One of the biggest things that stuck out to me from my 20s into my 30s is that people pass away often. People die easily a lot. I'm not saying easily, but people die a lot. And what you got to realize at some point is you're one of those people. You're going to die, man. We're all going to die, right? It's just when and how we live our life while we got time. That's one of the things in the Bible even talks about. It talks about, says, what's it say? It says, redeem the time, for the days are evil, right? The days are evil. It's the evil time, man. As long as Satan's still on this earth, as long as God hasn't returned, this is evil times. What's ruling the world? Oppression, right? Oppressive government, oppressive financial system, oppressive economic system. We're slaves to economics. Now, I said, yeah, you need to try to secure yourself a home, but also realize that that's a slave system. People are slaves to their paychecks. They're slaves to their mortgages. They give a third of their day, a third of their life to paying the bills. This is why people put so much emphasis on being rich, because what is money? Money doesn't necessarily bring you happiness in and of itself, which is a big lie that money doesn't bring you happiness. Yes, it dang does. Money does bring you happiness, but it brings you happiness in the time that it frees up, for you. It frees up time for you to live, for you to enjoy life. That's the great thing about riches. And I'm not saying there's a great verse in the Bible that says, do not see, I think it's in 2 Timothy, but you can Google it, but it's don't seek after riches. You know, be content with what you have and trust in God. You know, because people who put all their confidence in riches, you know, end up kind of in a snare. You know, the Bible likes to use this word snare. That means it's a trap, right? There's so many traps in this world. Women can be a trap. You know, drugs are a trap. Alcohol and you know, addictions are a trap, right? There are snares that catch people and hurt people and take people's souls. And money is a snare. Money is one of those things. You know, people in this life get caught up in trying to be rich, trying to make money, trying to be wealthy. Why? Because they want the freedom that money brings, the happiness, you know, when people work and stress and things like that, it's harmful for your body, harmful for your mind. You know, it takes away years off your life. But people who don't work because they're rich, you know, they got a nice life. And this is why people really deep down want to be rich, right? Because they want that freedom. They want that financial freedom. Everybody wants financial freedom, but everybody's enslaved to whatever degree. Even rich people are enslaved to their own addictions, to their own materialism, right? Just because you get rich doesn't mean you're going to be a smart rich person. It doesn't mean you're going to, you know exactly the right thing to do with your money and how to, you know, keep it invested and stay safe and things like that. Which is why I say trust in God. You know, trust in God for your livelihood. Trust in God for your future. You know, I always used to say when I was younger, you know, put your money in God's bank. I'm not saying don't invest. I'm not saying don't be smart with your money, but put your money in God's bank. You know, tithe, give money to God. You know, the Bible says you're going to be blessed if you do that, right? Tithing is important, and it's real. It really is real. When you give money to God, He gives you back tenfold or whatever it is. You know, whatever that word says, it's true. It's real. It really happens. I'm not saying it's like an investing tool, but you should do it out of a good heart. The Bible says, you know, God loves a cheerful giver. Anyways, so there's so many traps, man. There's so many traps and snares in this world. But as a man, you know, learn to be mature, learn to be wise, read, you know, expand your mind, and it's a healthy thing. It's like exercising a muscle. You know, that's why I like to learn. I like to keep that muscle, quote unquote, of my brain exercised. You know, I like to stay curious. It's good to be curious, right? It's really healthy to be curious, because what does that mean? It means you're always learning. If you're curious, you're always curious. You're always learning, and you're seeking understanding, seeking knowledge. It's a healthy habit, because you know, when you learn things, you advance. You're able to gain. It's true. Knowledge is power. But what's the mechanism that causes you to go from seeking knowledge to power? It's curiosity. You need that curiosity, because that's the driving force that actually causes you to, hey, I'm gonna Google this, or I'm gonna look this up, or I'm gonna learn about this, or I'm gonna get this book. It's really interesting, and I'm gonna learn about these things. And it's really healthy to do. Really healthy to do. The other thing is keep your body in good shape. You know, keep your body and your mind are both very important. Eat healthy foods. You know, I've said this a lot before. You know, in addition to taking the red pill is just the truth. But as men, we need to learn healthy habits to cultivate a quality life. You know, eat good food, take care of your body. Take good vitamins and supplements. You know, we've had so much advancement in the right word, curatorship or whatever, curate of herbs and spices and supplements, things like that. There's so much advancements in this day and age we live in. It's a wonderful time. Avail yourself of that. Take advantage of all the wonderful herbs and vitamins that are out there. that they will help heal your mind. They'll help heal your body. They'll help heal things that are wrong with you, you know. Make sure your body's alkaline. Drink alkaline water. Eat foods that are alkaline. You don't want to have too much acid in your diet. Stay away from pop. Even stay away from sugar-free pop. Don't eat or drink things out of a can. You know, don't drink tap water. Buy spring water and run it through an alkalizer. An alkaline filter, right? Eat tomatoes. Eat blueberries. Eat chicken breast. Eat organic wheat bread, or I was even to some degree stay away from that. I love Dave's bread. Dave's bread brand is awesome. Don't eat white bread. There's no nutrition in it. Eat sourdough. Organic sourdough bread is really good. Eat things that are organic as best you can. Take care of yourself. Exercise. Buy weights. Work out at home. Don't work out at a gym. It's a toxic place. Gyms are toxic places. You got a lot of egos in the gym. You got girls who are trying to, go viral for guys looking at them, so they dress like sluts, and it's just a weird place, man. Don't go to the gym. Get weights at home. Work out at home. That's what I do. Go for long walks. Love walks. Walks are so good for your mental health. So good for your mental health. Go on walks. Hopefully you live next to, I was talking earlier about Seattle and how beautiful it is, with the woods and stuff. I mean, you can't see, it's too dark here, but I'm on this beautiful street and there's like all these, let's see if I probably can't. No, I can't. I was going to try to put my light on my phone, but I'm looking up and there's these trees in the sky and it's gorgeous. I mean, obviously be safe, but if you can, find like an arboretum in your city, find like a cool gardens, and there's Japanese gardens and stuff around Seattle, and beautiful, beautiful places, Avail yourself of that kind of stuff. It's good for your soul. It's good for your soul, man. Do essential oils. I do essential oils all the time. This is all seemingly small stuff that really helps you, really helps your heart, really helps you grow as a person, really helps your health. Living is an art. It's an art that you learn. It's a practice. It's a method. Living a good life is, it's something that you got to work at, but you got to learn the secrets. Learn the little secrets. Get a really good quality mattress. Get a nice firm mattress. You don't want your mattress to be too soft because it'll hurt your back. Nice firm mattress. Your back health is really important. Go to a chiropractor if you can. Get your back adjusted, things like that. Your back cracked and stuff. And your back is really important. It's really important to have a healthy back because it's literally the backbone of your your physical carriage, your physical body, right? The Bible says the body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. So the Bible really talks big about keeping your body healthy, keeping your mind healthy, right? And you gotta learn tricks. You gotta learn some secrets to do that as a man. If you're in it for longevity, a lot of people, they just burn out. A lot of people in life, they get on drugs, or they get on the wrong type of thinking, or alcohol, or whatever addiction, or whatever type of nihilism. Nihilism is it's like a pitfall. It's a trap. Even philosophy to some degree. Politics are a big trap. A lot of people get caught up in politics and they just become ugly. They act ugly and they do and say ugly things. Politics are a big trap, and there's a big temptation. There's a big lure there in politics. Be political, and I've fallen into that a lot in my life. I've fallen into materialism, and materialism is another trap. You're constantly looking to buy the next shoe or the next cool shirt, or you're trying to have an image, and all that stuff is just It's vanity. The Bible calls it vanity. It really is. Most of it, I'm not saying that it's, get some cool shoes, and I don't know, it's cool to I like nice shoes, I like Nikes and stuff, and you feel good. You feel good when you wear nice clothes, and that can be good for your mental health a little bit, to some degree. But ultimately, particularly as you get older, when you're younger, those things are so important. But when you get older, you're like, man, those things, maybe there's some merit there, maybe there's a little bit of worth there, but for the most part, nah, the best things when you get older, like peace of mind. Peace of mind is the best thing, So I would say if you're younger, one of the best things you can do is set yourself up to have peace of mind. Set yourself up in life that you can have peace of mind. And again, one of the best things that you can do is not be with a bad partner, be with a right woman, Don't just be with a woman because you're getting sex. Don't just be with her because she's easy, right? It's better to be alone. The Bible talks about this. In the Proverbs, it talks about it's better to be alone than with a quarrelsome woman. It's better to be alone than with a woman who causes strife. Because a lot of women, they like drama. A lot of women, they're fueled with arguments. They're fueled with drama and fighting, things like that. And it's a lot of guys get caught up because they got no other options, or they feel they don't have the patience to wait for a better woman. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, it's better to just be alone. It's better to be alone. But I will say one important thing, a couple things if you're going to be a man. If you're a man, a couple things that are really important. One thing is, okay, now I talk all this stuff about the Bible. So now, yes, 100%. You need that foundation. You need to have your spiritual taken care of. I think there's I don't know if it's Maslow or somebody, some psychologists have it's called hierarchy of needs, right? We need dwelling, we need food. Those are our basics, and then we need emotional, emotional satisfaction. We need mental satisfaction. A lot of it talking about books and things like that, right? We also need spiritual satisfaction. There's a lot of different types of satisfaction. There's the psychological, there's the emotional, and there's the spiritual, and there's the physical as well. We need these types of things taken care of, which is why I always say you gotta put God first, because the spiritual is the most important. If your spiritual is out of whack, everything else is gonna be problematic. You're gonna have problems in all other areas of life if your spiritual is out of whack, because we're created in God's image. Whether you like it or not, you're created in the image of God. The reason why we like righteousness, the reason why we like the reason why we like, as humans, the reason why we like the truth, the reason why we like to tell the truth, the reason why we like, aesthetic things and good things and righteous things is because we're made in the image of God, and that's how God is. But so much has been corrupted on this earth, and so many people have been corrupted, and this is why we disdain people who are liars, who are phonies and fakes, and we disdain unrighteous things because we're created in the image of God. But we have this problem. The problem is the earth is corrupted. Humans are fallen, and there's so much corruption and negativity on this earth, and so we got to avoid it. All right. One of the most important things to being a quality man and live a quality human life is to avoid the sin, avoid the negativity. This is why God is like, don't sin, because it brings negativity on us. It brings suffering. It brings undue suffering. We don't need to suffer as much as we do if we would avoid sin, if we would avoid the negative things, And a lot of what the devil does is, a lot of how he tries to get us trapped is he tempts us. He tries to lure us into sinful things and addictions and things. So a lot of what being a good man and living a good life, a lot of it is just playing defense. You're playing defense against the enemy, the devil. You're playing defense against temptations. You're playing defense against addictions and things that'll get you caught up and spending too much time on your phone, spending too much time on social media, putting negative things out into the world, consuming and digesting and assimilating negative things, whether it's soap operas or, bad movies or, ugly things on social media, politics, and these things harm us. They harm our spiritual walk. They harm our heart. One of the things the Bible says, it says, guard your heart. You gotta guard your heart, man, because out of it flow the streams of life. Our heart is so important, A lot of people don't even know they have a heart. A lot of people don't even know they have a soul, let alone a spirit. We got a heart, we got a soul, we got a spirit. We got emotions, we got a mind, we got a will to do things. And then there's God's will in the universe. There's other wills in the universe. There's people around us and their will, things that they want. As a man, we need to know all this. We need to understand all this, right? There's seasons in life, and there's a time and place, right, for things, That's why I like the red pill, because it's the truth. It's good to learn. It's good to learn female nature. It's good to learn human nature. It's good to learn how the world works, even to some extent economics and how this was things school doesn't teach you. How to pay a mortgage, how to get a good quality job, how to live, how to get your finances right, how to do banking, things like that, And a lot of it is habits. A lot of it is, good quality habits, which is why eating good food at the right times is so important. Drinking quality water is important. Exercising at the right time, sleeping, getting enough sleep. All these things are so important because they're daily habits that help you function correctly. These are things that a lot of people like me, my father was I don't know the right word for it, but he was dysfunctional. He was not a very functional quality. He had a lot of good qualities about him that he could have developed if he wasn't, he was an alcoholic, things like that. And he was abused when he was younger, and he was a very hurt person, right? Which is sad. A lot of people can grow up in abuse. And, if you take psychology classes, you learn that, people who are abused at a young age, it often messes up their whole life for the rest of their life because they aren't developing correctly. They don't know how to deal with their emotions. They don't know how to function normally. They feel anxiety when they shouldn't, and things, just all kinds of, just a laundry list of negative stuff that can come out of abuse and dysfunction, and I had to learn this stuff. I had to fight through a lot of symptoms that I was having because I had a dysfunctional father, right? But you gotta apply yourself. You gotta try, which is why I always say it's good to read. It's good to learn who you are, learn human nature, learn psychology, learn what makes a person, and what the right kind of functioning is. And your environment is important too. It's good to have a good environment, and pray for a better environment if you're in a bad environment. Pray for blessing. Ask the Lord to bless you. Ask God to bless you. It's important, man. It really, and He will. He wants to. He wants to take care of us. He cares for His children. I believe that fully. Doesn't mean you're always gonna have sunny days. Doesn't mean you're always gonna have great times. There's a lot of suffering in life for everybody. Even rich people suffer. But if you put God first and you think of God and you meditate on Him and you talk to Him and you tell him what's going on, and you ask and you seek of Him, and He does help, He does bless us, and He does take care of us and things like that, and be thankful, because He will. You might not see it. It might not be in the way that you want or the way that you think it should happen or things like that. Things might happen to you that you might think are unfair, or you might think, why did that happen? I don't understand it. But a lot of it is just for your own good, and you might not realize it. We always connotate suffering with negative, we connotate suffering with, there's no point in it. It's just, but there is, and we don't realize there is a point in it, And a lot of it is so that we can grow. We can have enlarged hearts, and we can have broader hearts, and we can have more understanding and more love. And there's a lot. I'm not sitting here advocating for suffering necessarily. I'm just saying that God takes care of us in mysterious ways, and we might think it's not right, or we might not sense him or understand why things are happening and what's going on, right? But a lot of times, he is there, and he's caring for us just in a hidden way, for sure, very much so, very true. He loves us and he cares for us in a hidden way most times. And you might not see it at first. It might take you years and years to see it. But you'll look back and you'll be like, wow, God was really with me, and I didn't realize God was really with me, And even though I went through all that suffering, all that pain, God was with me. And it makes you really thankful. And it makes you, you're grateful. And he gives you good days and gives you happiness and things, But as a man, as a human, there's also a lot that you can do to help yourself. There's a lot that you can do to help yourself. And what you can't do to help yourself, you got to look to God for, right? But I would say some practical things, it's good to have a nice home. You need to have a nice home as a man, as a human being. We need nice homes, and to whatever, to the best of our ability and the best of, our finances and what we can do. And a lot of what people get caught up in suffering and depression and suicidal type thoughts and things is because they don't have a good home. They don't have a good environment. Try to have plants in your home. They clean the air. Try to have nice paintings that you like in your home. You want to feel good at home. You want to have, even if you just have a room, decorate your room, have a nice rug, have a nice bed, and have, nice things as much as you can. Cool little decor, things that you like to, decorate. You might not think those things are important, but they actually are. They, as a human, those things are like seasoning. You don't want to eat bland food, right? You want your food to be seasoned really well, right? A lot of what, for our soul, a lot of what we need aesthetics. We need aesthetic things, right? Things that are beautiful, right? Paintings or cool little decor, cool little things that are just cool to us that we like. Or some people like to put up pictures and things. Okay, I don't have a lot of pictures. I like art. I like paintings and things, and I like cool little knickknacks, cool little whatever, things. Have stuff like that, around your home if you can. And if you can, get a nice home in a nice quiet neighborhood and just live out your life in quiet and peace. That's the best type of life. You don't want to go looking for trouble. You don't want to go looking for the wrong kind of excitement. Even I would say to some degree, to a great degree probably, people who have like weird hobbies, like, I'm going to go skiing, I'm going to go do this. A lot of that is just compensating for the fact they don't have peace in their home life. If you have peace in your home life, you can really live decades, and you might not need to leave your house that much. And that might sound weird. It might sound like a shut-in. And of course, earlier I said go out. And yes, you do need to go out. You need to go for walks. You need to go enjoy the outdoors, things like that. But if you got a cool home, you got a nice little cozy home, you'll really, it's good for your soul. It's good for your heart, And I would say as a man, particularly if you want a woman, it's good to have a home. Women want guys with homes. Women want to be part of the home. It's like in nature. You go out and you build the nest. And when I was younger, because I have a lot of money, and when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of money, and never had a lot of money in my life. And I think I was bitter to a good degree. And there's truth in this, though. That, yeah, women like guys who are providers. They like guys who build the nest. And what is the nest? It's your home. It's your house. And I don't mean an apartment. I mean a house. I live in an apartment, but I live in a great neighborhood, and I'm thankful to God. Thankful for what I got. Be thankful, even if you don't have a nice home, you don't have the nice city. Still be thankful. And I would say the ultimate message is, whatever your situation, find peace and find happiness. Right? Like for me, I don't have a nice home, even though I go out walking and I'm envious of these homes and things like that. And I made whole videos about it in the past, like, oh, women are so materialistic and they just want a guy with a home. And it's true, they are, and they do. It's true. And that's for guys like me who don't have a lot of money and don't have a home. That's kind of, it's definitely a downside to life. It's sad, But so I would say my advice would be to, it's not that. Yeah, the ideal is to have a woman who's with you before you get the home. The ideal is to have a woman who's down with you before you're successful, before you make it, because then she's not materialistic. And absolutely, that's the ideal. But at the same time, like, when you get older, you're like, damn, I just want to settle down. I don't have as much energy. I don't have as much get up and go as I used to have when I was younger. And I just want to have peace in my life. I just want to live in a nice, quiet neighborhood and live in a nice, quiet home, and have just a nice, attractive woman around me, the rest of my life. And this is, I think, what men really want. Yeah, when you're young, you're horny and you got high testosterone and you want to bang every woman. And that, to some extent, that never goes away. But also at the same time, as you get older, you're like, damn, I just want to relax all the time. I just want to have a nice little home. And I think a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't realize that or recognize that like, a lot of what life is about is just having a nice home. This is why they say home is where the heart is. You need to have a nice home that's good for your heart, things. So I would say, to the best of your ability, advice I would give to younger men is, get a nice home. Always put God first and ask God for a nice home, and get a nice home. Get a nice home, because it'll help your soul for the rest of your life. It'll help you live through your days, because life is short, man. We only get 70 years here, maybe 80 or 90 if we're strong and we're lucky, right? And even after a certain point, probably when you're 80, you probably don't want to live that much longer, right? But yeah, take care of yourself, so when you do get that old, you'll be healthy, and if you can be financially stable and financially free, then you'll have 10, 20 years of really enjoying life, or at least I would say really enjoying life, but really just being comfortable and peaceful with life, and try to get out of financial debt, try to get out of financial anxiety, financial fear, things like that. Don't be in debt. Pay off your loans if you can, to the best of your ability, try to set yourself up for peace and stability. And then if you can't, trust in God, trust in God, and give everything to God, and pray for better times, pray for better days, pray for more peace. God hears prayers, man. He hears prayers. Praying is so important, so important. Gotta pray, man. Gotta pray. But man, prayer is so important. Pray, ask God to make you happy. It's a wonderful prayer. Ask God for peace. Get peace in your life. That's a wonderful prayer. Ask Him to be with you through suffering. He answers prayers like that, man. He really does. He answers prayers. God's great. He's wonderful. Okay. So maybe I'm going to wrap this up. But one of the last things I wanted to touch on was, I want to talk a little bit about the Red Pill community and what's going on. And, I entered in around 2014, 15. I started making videos around there, when the Red Pill was really popping off. And it's interesting to see what's been going on. I think that for the most part, the mass majority of men have been educated in the red pill now, which is crazy and cool and wonderful, through mediums such as like Fresh and Fit, and even, you know, I talk bad about him, but even Andrew Tate and, you know, Richard Cooper and Rollo Tomasi and guys like this, and who are out here, you know, who made the red pill go famous, you know, made it pop. The red pill's healthy because it's the truth. The red pill is the truth, you know, and I'm glad it got popular. It was necessary, it was needed, and it showed me that men are resilient, showed me that men are loving and brilliant, and men are important and necessary. They're a cornerstone of civilization and humanity, and men are so important, you know, and we live in this world that has been so feminized, has been so damaged by misandry and feminism, radical feminism, modern feminism, you know, these tools and these insidious ideologies, which I believe are from the devil, you know, who have tried to feminize men and tried to attack and demonize men and harm society, you know, and there's been a lot of damage, you know, but I'm really impressed with the red pill because it was an antidote to that. And I'm really impressed and encouraged with the amount of truth that goes on out there, and how men are fighting back, not through, you know, anything negative, but through the truth. Men are fighting back through the truth, and I hope that the truth will continue to spread, and I hope men would be built up in the truth, would be equipped and educated in the truth, which is all that I talked about today. You know, it's so important for men to do these things, because if you learn these little things, learn how to exercise, learn how to gain knowledge, learn how to put your spiritual life first, learn how to put God first, learn how to, you know, navigate through the seasons of life, learn how to set yourself up for the future, learn how to have peace and all these things. You know, if you can do that, you'll be more resilient when the bad times come, when the rains come. You know, there's always seasons, you know, even, you know, everything is synergistic, and everything is like an example of other things. You know, we have seasons in our world, in our ecosystem. We have seasons, right? We got spring, we got summer, we got fall, and we got winter, right? And all these things it's a reflection in the type of what life is about. There's good and there's bad in life. You know, you're gonna have times when things are chilly and cold. You're gonna have times when there's blizzards and storms in your life, you know, and then there's gonna be times when spring comes, and there's going to be new life, right? Resurrection. That's what a spring is. It's a type of resurrection, right? It's a typology. It's kind of an analogy of resurrection, right? And we have resurrection with Christ, and we have resurrection in our spiritual life, in our personal life. Things get resurrected, and new life happens, you know, and it's all a process of growth. It's always a process of growth. And so don't necessarily look at the bad times as if they shouldn't be happening, or, you know, why is this, you know, that's so easy for us to say, why is this happening, you know, why does this happen, why is there all this negativity, right? But a lot of it is just a season. It's a storm, or it's a blizzard, or it's a cold front, or it's just a season. It's the type of season it is. And some of them might last years. You might have a season that lasts for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. You might, maybe, hopefully not that long. But you know, quote unquote season, right? You know, and then you might have a good season. You might have a season of abundance. You might have a season of new life, resurrection. You know, whatever it is, whether it's economic or you know, great new relationships, or learning new things, or, you know, then you might have summer where everything's just sunny and warm and lovely and nice, and you just enjoy everything. And some people might have summer in their life. I believe everybody goes through seasons, you know. Some people might have longer seasons than others. Some people might suffer more than others. Some people might have more enjoyment than others. Some people might have what seems like a lifelong summer, maybe. You know, some people might have what seems like a lifelong winter, maybe. You know, these are just examples, but I think there's balance though in most people's lives. It's just where the problem happens is when we get imbalanced and we try to hold on to a season, or we try to, you know, escape a certain type of season, which again, you know, I wouldn't ask anybody to invite suffering or invite a cold season or invite a winter into their life. Try to get out of that as much as you can. You know, so you're going to do that anyways. It's just human nature to try to avoid suffering and get out of suffering. And don't be like asceticism, you know, an ascetic who is trying to suffer, you know, one of these monks who is trying to self-suffer so that they can escape the pitfalls of life, or the whatever their whole nirvana Confucius type of crap, where they're self-suffering so that they can, you know, escape the pitfalls of, you know, human lust and greed or whatever, etc. And you know, everything's multifaceted. You got to look at things from different angles. You got to look at things from, you know, what about this, what about that? You know, everything is very complex and complicated, you know. Or it can be just simple, you know. Hey, you know, I'm trying to live a good life. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be peaceful, you know, which is great. You know, whatever works, right? Ultimately, whatever works. But just know if you're suffering, you're going through a season or whatever, it's not always going to stay that way. You know, it's not always going to last forever. You might think so. I've been through seasons that were 5 years, 7 years, you know, 8 years, 9, 10, you know, maybe. But from one thing I've learned at my age and getting older and maturing is the seasons don't last forever. And you're going to have good times. You're going to have resurrection. You're going to have springtime seasons. You're going to have summertime seasons. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You know, and season might be a week. Season might be 2 weeks. It's, you know, these little sufferings, and then you're going to have victories. You might have a victory that lasts 2 weeks. You might have a victory that's just one amazing day. You know, I've had very sublime days in my life. I've had very Nirvana-esque days, and where just everything was right, everything was perfect. I was so happy, and the sun was shining a certain way, and I went and did this great thing, or I met this cool person. I had this great conversation, and like really learn one trick. One secret to life is to really learn how to enjoy the little things. Enjoy those little conversations. Enjoy those little fun times. Enjoy that little aesthetic thing. And it might just be one little thing that you see in your whole day. Or you could learn how to look for those little things in your day as you're going about your day. Learn how to look for those cool little things, you know? And then treasure them. Treasure that moment. Treasure that little moment that you get, that little enjoyment that you get, whether it's a walk or whether it's a cool painting that you saw, or you saw this funny video, or you saw this, or you learned something, you were educated, and, you know, don't be too rigid one way or the other. That's not good. It's not good to be rigid. You know, it's good to be flexible. You know, this guy, one time, I was younger, I was working, and I was real stressed out, and I was like kind of lost in my thinking. I was lost in kind of where I was at in life a little bit. And this guy, he looked a little odd, and he looked almost like he was mentally ill a little bit. But he said something to me. He just came up to me, and he sat next to me, and he just said one thing, and it just helped me. And I don't know how he knew that I was suffering, or I mean, I'm sure I looked like it, but he just said something, and it's probably God working through him to tell me something. But he said, you know, it was such a weird thing, because he just came up and just said this. It wasn't like he didn't introduce himself or anything. He just came up and said this to me. Excuse me. Pardon me. But he came up and he said this to me, and he goes, you know, if you look at a stick, or like a limb on a tree, and it's really rigid and it's stiff, it breaks really easily. You know, if you have a limb or a branch on a tree that's really rigid and stiff, it easily breaks because it's too stiff. But if it's flexible, then it doesn't break so hard. And I'm sure he was an Asian guy. He was an Asian guy, but he looked like he was mixed, like an Asian and white mixed kind of guy. But and I thought he was kind of a little mentally ill. I was like, why is this guy saying this to me? But what he said made sense. It made sense, and I was like, you know. And he just walked off. And that's the only time I ever met him. And he didn't introduce himself. That's all he said. And I was just like, you know, it's always stuck with me. It's true. It's true. You know, if you're too rigid, you break. You know, don't be too rigid. Be flexible. You know, if you got a branch on a tree and it's real flexible, it doesn't break very easily. You know, so don't be too rigid in life. You know, some people, you know, I used to be like this when I was younger. It's like I was so absolute for something that's all I wanted to think. I thought that was dedication. I thought that was good. You know, like, oh, I got to be 100% for basketball all day long. Play basketball, think about basketball, watch basketball, you know, basketball, you know. And there's, to some extent, you know, yes, that can help some people succeed. That can help if you're lucky enough to be very good at that thing, have a natural talent for it, and you also have a passion for it. Some people, and you spend all that time doing it. Yes, there's some goodness there. It can make you a savant. It can make you a genius. It can make you the GOAT, the greatest of all time at that thing. It's possible. But what I've learned is life is so varied. Life is so varied. It's so multifaceted. There's so many different aspects to life, you know. And it's not that you just want to sit around and think about all these things, think about all the aspects and stuff. You know, you don't want to waste time, but it's good to be broad. It's good to be flexible. It's good to have a broadness about you and take things as they come. Maybe one day you're going to the beach. Maybe another day you're going to the library. Maybe another day you're watching a video. Maybe another day you're working out. Maybe another day you're spending time learning. Maybe another day you're cleaning your home or doing the dishes or doing laundry, or, you know, you need to have broadness in your life. It's very important to not be too rigid and not be too strict in your thinking and your feeling. You know, it's really good to, anyway, and it's the same with your diet. You know, you got to eat a variety of foods. You know, if you're just so strict with eating this one type of food, it's not good for your stomach. It's not good for your health. You know, you need a varying type of nutrients, and that's a picture, a type of life in general. You need varied things. You know, I think I was really unhappy when I was younger because I was too narrow-minded. I was too focused on one thing. You know, and I think people for whatever reason, people have a tendency to get caught up in things like that. They have a tendency to get caught up in rigidity, right? In habit. And yes, humans are creatures of habit, but it's good to have varying habits. It's good to have varying things that you do. It's good to have, a broad spectrum of things that you enjoy or things that are necessary to do in life, you know. And I circle back to this a lot, but I would circle back and say, don't waste a lot of time in relationships. Don't waste a lot of time in friendships. I know it's healthy, it's good, which is why we should have family, really. Family is the best friendship. Family is the best relationship if you got a good, loving family. Not everybody does, I understand that. But if you can create a good family and have love, and love needs to be the foundation, and patience and forgiveness, because there's gonna be offenses. There's gonna be bad times, you know, and you gotta learn how to get through them, you know, and a lot of prayer. Prayer helps out a lot. Pray for people, pray for your family, pray that you would have a good family, you know, but also, you know, as much as you can, try to live a varied life, you know, live a life that's not super rigid, that's not super close-minded, that's not super narrow-sighted, you know. It's healthy, it's good to experience a lot of different things in life. It's part of the human experience. It should be part of a good quality life experience, is to really enjoy a variety of things in life. and seek out new things, in a sense. Seek out new things that God gave us, healthy things. I talk about cooking, I talk about, herbs and supplements and things. And these things will enhance your life, and it's varied. It's a whole, it's a whole subject on its own. Life has so many different subjects, and anyway, it's good to do that. But I got a little carried away on a tangent there, but I want to talk about the red pill and kind of end it on that note. But I am thankful that men are growing. I am thankful that the truth is going out. And I am proud of men in today's world, in our country, for being adherents to the truth, for uplifting the truth. And even if it seems negative, it seems negative to complain about women. It seems negative to, put your voice out there and say, hey, this isn't right. It seems weak, but it's not. It's really not. I don't believe it is. To stand up for what's right. And the truth is what's right. The Bible says the truth will set you free. The truth sets us free. It's good to live in the truth. It's good to seek after the truth. I think there's a verse that says the kingdom people seek after righteousness, hunger and thirst for righteousness. And I think the truth is part of that, And then also, God, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I think that's true as well. If you put God first, if you put Jesus first, then you'll have the truth, And I think that the best way for us to really know the truth and to know right from wrong, because what I see a lot in this generation is I see a lot of people who don't have a moral compass. They don't have a moral compass. They don't have a moral foundation. And I'm thankful that I was raised with the Bible, I'm thankful that I was raised to know the difference between right and wrong, because I have a moral compass. And even when I'm sinning, even when I'm doing wrong, I know that those things are wrong. I know the difference between right and wrong. And I think my mom did that. I'm thankful for my mom. It's good to have a good parent, I think that's so important, because I think a lot of people today who are living an immoral, degenerate, unrighteous life, I think a lot of it is because they didn't have parents who taught them morals. They didn't have parents who raised them to know the difference between right and wrong. And I see that a lot in today's world. I see that a lot in today's society, is that people don't even have a moral compass. They don't know which way is up when it comes to morals, and comes to the difference between right and wrong. So important. But I think that the red pill is kind of an antidote to, it's necessary, it's needed. I think one thing, unfortunately, that I'm seeing recently is that people are starting to forget about the red pill. They're starting to forget that the red pill is the truth. And they're starting to disregard the red pill. They think the red pill's weak and whatever. And a lot of that is because guys, we know who they are. Certain guys come into our sphere, come into the manosphere, and they try to make it about themselves, and they try to uplift themselves. And that's one thing as men we got to watch out for. Be wary of tyrants. A tyrant is always charismatic. A tyrant always starts out as a hero, right? Tyrants usually start out as heroes. They bring some kind of spirit or some kind of excitement or energy to their followers. Their followers get something when they latch on to these guys. But in the end, you realize this person's a narcissist. This person's a sociopath. This person is an egomaniac, right? And we know who they are. They come in our sphere. They come in our politics sphere as well. Always asserting themselves as leaders. Hey, I know the way. The Bible calls these guys antichrists, false Christs, false leaders, false teachers, the blind leading the blind, And it's not that these people never speak the truth. It's not that they never have good qualities about them. In fact, they have to, or else they wouldn't have followers. They have to have endearing qualities. They have to have clever words, clever speech, They have to have some type of draw, right? They have to have something captivating about them. or else they wouldn't be leaders. They wouldn't be in the position they're in, because that's what makes a leader. That's the ingredients to make a leader, is to have these kind of charismatic, confident qualities, which a lot of people mistake arrogance and boasting for confidence, which it's really not. And that's how you can usually tell who's a tyrant and who's not, who's somebody who is trying to profit off of a vacuum of men's pain, or a vacuum of certain things. And this is what marketers do. Good marketers say, hey, what's needed in society? What's needed, in this sector? What's needed here? And they try to profit off of it. So if you have somebody who's coming in, for instance, to our, sphere, the manosphere in the red pill area, who's, giving you what you think you want to hear, and I've got all the answers and follow me, a lot of times that's just a grifter. That's just somebody who's really trying to distort the truth into building up their own empire. And that's why I call them tyrants, right? But somebody who puts the truth first, somebody who is objective, and who the basis and their modus operandi, their MO, is really based around and surrounding the objective truth of something, generally that person or that entity is, for the most part, legitimate, right? If they're objective, if they're not trying to interject themselves as the answer. No one person is the answer, right? The answer is never a person unless it's Jesus, unless it's God. God is the ultimate answer to everything. But it's never a person, right? That's how you can, it's one surefire sign of falsity, false teaching, a false teacher, or whatever, and that's the Antichrist archetype, is asserting themselves as the answer, as opposed to the truth being the answer. Or I would even say God being the answer, because God is the truth, because God is righteousness. His nature is righteousness. His nature is truth, right? There's a verse in the Bible that says, Christ is the reality of all positive things, meaning God is the reality. God is the real reality. But when you have a fallen human, right? Because we're all fallen, everybody. We're all fallen. We're all damaged. We're all, to whatever extent we are corrupted. I mean, we have corruption literally within our body, right? This is what happened at the fall of man, Adam and Eve. Corruption came in, Satan has sinned. We have all that in our being, in our body. So we are apt to being corrupted. We are apt to corruption from within us, not even just from without. A lot of people think, oh, corruption comes from without. It comes from, got to guard against these outward things. Yes, you do. And corruption does come from without, but it also comes from within. So what a lot of people don't realize is that corruption is within us, right? So for any corrupted human being to assert themselves as the answer, right there that's a gigantic red flag. No human is the answer. No, God is the answer. The truth is the answer, and objectivity is how you can decipher a false teacher from somebody who's actually just genuinely trying to help. And a good teacher is somebody who is just genuinely trying to help. They're not trying to gain anything. They're just trying to help. That's it. That's what they gain is the truth being spread and help happening, and that makes them feel good to help others. That's when you have a good teacher, somebody who's using the quality information and the quality truth to help and uplift others. Whereas somebody who's an egomaniac, somebody who's a sociopath, what are they building up? They're building up their empire. They're building up themselves, their ego, their narcissism, right? So I've seen this a lot in the red pill in the last 5 years, last 10 years to some degree, but particularly the last 5 years. And we know who these people are, right? We know them. And in a way, it's good because, it separates the wheat from the chaff, or separates the sheep from the goats, right? the people who really love the truth, they're not going to follow these charlatans. They're not going to follow these egomaniacs, right? The people who are really for hope. But sadly, fallen human nature is so apt to be led by these, these imposters or whatever, these tyrants, that a lot of times it just happens. A lot of times, it's happened in history. There's always been charismatic, powerful people who come along. We see it all throughout history. Leaders of politics or whatever, and they try to come in and they try to usurp power and usurp attention and usurp the truth ultimately. And ultimately, these people are used by Satan. These people are used by the devil, and they themselves probably don't even know it, or they're just corrupted. They corrupt themselves. They lose themselves in the process, and then they take down people who follow them, right? So it's an interesting phenomenon. It's a microcosm of life, as a whole. It's a microcosm of, what's really going on in the world, in humanity and throughout history. And we got to be careful. We got to be careful who we follow. We got to be careful, what we uplift, which is why I say the truth is always, the best thing about the red pills. It's just the truth, So we should uplift the truth, and we should hold the truth close to our chest. Hold the truth. Always hold the truth, uplift the truth. The truth is the best. The truth is the best way to go. The truth sets you free. The truth brings you peace. The truth is freeing. And then I would say, lastly, ultimately, God is the truth. When you have God in your life, when you're right spiritually, when you do the work spiritually, when you I would use this word. I'd love to use this word cultivate in this thought. To cultivate God, to grow and to reap and harvest God and righteousness, to cultivate the fruits of the Spirit, to cultivate the fruit of following God is the best thing you can do for your life. So the red pill is just kind of one facet of the truth. It's one facet of life and what keeps men and what keeps humanity stable and safe and peaceful, because that's what the truth does. It keeps humanity safe and peaceful and stable. And so if we as humans can, if we can keep that, then it'll be, and particularly as men, if we can keep that, then it'll be beneficial for us. But I would say ultimately the best thing to hold on to is God, and the best thing to adhere to is God and the Bible and prayer. So with that said, guys, I just wanted to kind of update you and kind of talk about some things and how I've grown and certain things. And I'm still single. I'm still out here, just trying to practice what I preach, trying to enjoy life and trying to follow God and not get too caught up on the negative things, and weather the storms and go through the seasons the best way I can, and always enjoying the moments and enjoying what I can, and trying to help and be a positive in the world as much as I can. And we all should, and we should, to whatever extent that we can, support each other, and particularly when it comes to the truth. And hopefully we all can be blessed and stay blessed. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Appreciate you listening. It's been Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.